We were planning for what we believed was imminent. Mr. and Mrs. Nevinson were listening to me. I was saying, "I was only thinking, sir, that if we could get another flame going the instant the lamper candle was put out, we might still succeed in foiling them. We could have a shallow pan ready at each window with a rag of waste in it soaked with petrol, and stand prepared to apply a match the instant the lamp or candle was snuffed out. When we come to think of it, it's no difficult matter to put out a lighted match or a cigarette. But I bet you what you like, a blazing rag soaked with petrol would give them something to think about." Mr. Nevinson smiled and returned, "You speak as though you were referring to tangible human adversaries, Milton." "That won't work," his wife snapped. "Why couldn't they extinguish a flaming rag soaked in petrol? We're dealing with supernatural forces." "Even psychic phenomena," I parried, "are governed by some sort of law. These things that have been happening to us may seem mysterious, but that's only because we don't understand the laws that control them." A strenuous argument developed, but in the end Mr. Nevinson settled the matter by pronouncing not only his approval of my experiment, but his intention to try it that very night. In my diary, I stuck in 2 sheets of exercise book paper, both sides of which are crammed with words on the lines as well as in between. It is my description of the events of that night in the story of My Bones and My Flute. Please don't imagine that in a weak moment I am about to break my resolution and my word to the Nevinsons regarding the publication of my diary notes. Consider it a temporary lapse and nothing more if I quote from the scribblings that relate to the events of that Wednesday. They run this way. After lunch, Rayburn brought candles. Mr. Wren prefers candles to lamp. Says no sense in having lampshade broken if devil spooks get violent. Agree. Humor. Man came asking us if we had any soft grease, meaning soft candle. He keeps chickens, and one of them has developed pip. Soft candle, good remedy, he says. Mrs. Nevy told him, no, we have only hard candles. Jessie turned red, shrieked with laughter. First really hearty laugh heard her indulgent for days. Believe she suspects smutty innuendo in Mrs. N's quip, and shouldn't doubt it. Mrs. N, under air propriety, good sport. 4:51, manifestation. Mrs. N deadly pale. Jessie reached out for Mrs. N's throat. I checked her. She snarled horribly, tried to hurl me aside. Amazing strength, not her own. For first time she gave off slightly musky odor. Mrs. N confirmed smelling it too. All of us horrified. Questioned Jessie, matter of routine after manifestation. Still declares she experiences nothing unusual. I just feel a little shivery, she said, and want to hug myself, that's all. But I don't hear the flute or see that horrible thing I used to see a week ago. I don't feel anything was wrong with me. I can't understand how you say I changed like this. Mr. N, as usual, heard flute and saw demon thing. But strength of attraction no more powerful than before. Asked him if he thought he could resist following it, if not stopped. Replied, no, could not. But for Rayburn, he would follow it. Admitted terrific strain on nerves. Fears he might soon break if situation does not improve. After dinner, 7:30. We are in a state of nerves concerning experiment tonight. Mrs. N suggesting not bother. Might rouse up more horrors, she says. Jessie, too, wavering, told her about her weak will, and she flew at me like a tiger cat. Why should I insist her will weaker than wills of rest of us? "You're a fool, a conceited fool," she said. Mother and father called her to order. Jessie sobbed hysterically. We all consoled her. Felt really soft about her myself. And sorry I tackled her about her weakness. Really believe developing soft spot for her in spite of resolutions to desist from falling in love. Must pull up. Won't do this. Jessie got laugh on me in dining room just before dinner when Spider crawled up from under the sideboard and I nearly stepped on it. I leapt 10 yards and yelled. Rayburn rushed in thinking it was another manifestation. Killed Spider. Harmless house spider with egg. But I believe I hate these more than hairy bush ones. Those notes were written on Wednesday itself. But what follows, I did on Saturday morning. At about 9, Jessie, fidgety, suggests she should sleep with her father, afraid to sleep as usual in the northern room. Mrs. N told her not to be coward. Her father and I would be on guard whole night on veranda. Jessie still insisted. Argument. Convinced her at last no purpose served in sleeping in father's room. He would not be in there tonight in any case. Any different room wouldn't stop spooks behaving as on previous night. At 10:10, Jessie and Mrs. N went into their rooms to retire. Jessie's face strained. Could have given her a hug. Must check self in regard to these impulses. Both Jessie and mother glanced about nervously. Admit nervy myself. Dropped watch and cracked glass. Mr. N seemed calm, but underneath I know he was as tense as the rest of us. That is as much as I shall quote. My purpose in giving you this glimpse into my diary is merely to illustrate the state of our nervous and mental balance during the hours that preceded the experiment, and to do this without having recourse to long and wordy descriptions. Now that we come to the point, however, when events are actually about to involve the experiment itself, I must leave my diary and resume the old method of narration. The moon that night rose late, for it was on the wane, and when Mr. Nevinson and I, in pyjamas, went out on the northern veranda to begin our vigil, we were almost startled by the bluish-reddish glow that threw the tops of the trees in the east into sharp and detailed silhouette. But then anything would have startled us. As Mr. Nevinson chucklingly remarked, "I shall soon begin to take fright at my own hand when it scratches the back of my neck." As we approached the hammock, Jessie's voice asked nervously, "Is that you, Daddy?" And we saw her face appear above the window-sill. "Aren't you asleep yet?" he asked her. "There's nothing like sleep in my eyes tonight," she said. She was sitting in bed in pyjamas, her chin resting on her knees, her hands mechanically massaging her feet and toes. In the dim light of the 10-watt bulb, her face looked strained and furtive. From the other side of the room, her mother called, "Well, if you two stand there holding a conference with Jessie, I don't think I shall ever sleep either." She spoke a trifle irritably and turned over in a restless manner. After advising Jessie to lie down and try to compose herself for sleep, Mr. Nevinson and I made a final inspection of the 2 candles on each of the 2 window sills. They were fastened tight in improvised candle rests made out of cocoa tins, these in turn being tacked to the sill to ensure that they did not topple over. The space between them was exactly 20 inches, and in this space, also tacked to the sill, stood a rusty canteen tin plate containing a piece of waste. Rayburn had attended to this in his usual efficient manner, and he had revealed such a feeling for neatness and symmetry that the window sills as Mrs. Nevinson had commented when surveying them earlier that evening, looked like sacrificial altars at which we were all about to perform desperate and bizarre rites. The candles had not yet been lit, nor the waste soaked with petrol. We had decided that this should not be done until the two women had fallen asleep. For not only might the flickering flames and the fumes of the spirit keep them awake, but there would be no sense in allowing the candles to gutter down and the fumes of the petrol to evaporate when there was no prospect of any activity on the part of the demon entities. From what had happened on the other nights, we felt fairly certain that nothing could materialize unless the two women were asleep. On the veranda floor, beneath each window, we had placed a bottle of petrol, and 2 spare candles, and a box of matches, and 2 upright chairs substituted for the deck chairs which usually were out here, for we knew that our vigil would be a tiring one, and the comfort of a deck chair would be too conducive to dozing. For more than an hour we paced or sat, indulging in very little conversation. Whenever we did speak, we spoke in whispers so as not to disturb the two women. Occasionally we smoked. Outside, the fireflies flashed in silence, and the moon rose amid inky rags of cloud that dissolved almost as soon as they appeared above the top of the jungle. In the pocket of my pyjamas I carried my rather aged but still trustworthy West clock's watch, and when I glanced at it at 11:25, the sky was cloudless and the moon well above the trees. Mrs. Nevinson was quiet and seemed asleep, but Jessie kept turning and sighing. I approached my host, and we had a whispered conference. I told him that it might be wise to light the candles now and keep in readiness by the windows. With Mrs. Nevinson asleep, I argued, there was just the possibility that something might happen. But he shook his head. We must wait until we're sure Jessie's asleep too. Lighting those candles now would simply attract her attention and dispel whatever sleep may be in her eyes at the moment, he said. So we waited. Once we heard the camp cot in the sitting room creak, as though Rayburn had turned in his sleep. He had offered to join us in our vigil, but Mr. Nevinson would not hear of him losing his sleep. He had said, "We do nothing all day, Rayburn. We manage to snatch an hour or two of sleep when conditions permit. But you're active all day about the place, can't afford to lose your sleep." At 10 to 12, Jessie was still awake. I saw her head appear above the windowsill and knew she was sitting in bed again. Then she looked out and hissed, "I'm sure I'm not going to sleep tonight. It's no use. I may as well get up and come outside with the two of you." Her father told her, "You're holding up the party, my girl. What about a cup of Ovaltine? Don't you think that might help?" "I've had 2 already, one just after dinner and one just before getting into bed. It will take more than Ovaltine to make me sleep now." "Shh! Not so loud. You'll wake your mother." She sat there, hugging her knees. A frog began to chirrup near the sawmill. Our wait was not to be in vain. That night, in the story I've come to call My Bones and My Flute.